All right, everybody, welcome back to the Business Mentorship Podcast. And today we've got Sean Malone. How you doing, Sean?
Hey Tyler, I'm so great. I'm every day is a holiday, right? I'm so blessed and grateful to be on your show. You're kicking a lot of ass, so grateful to be here, man. Thanks.
Thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. We're getting some really high caliber individuals on. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Sean so you can get bought into this interview. And I think it's really important to listen to people who have found success more than once and are moving into, the higher levels of success that we all strive for. So Sean, co-founder and CMO of flowchat.com. Check it out. So he's a software tech company that redefined the way people use DMs and direct messages for business. And if you're listening to this and you're a coach or a mentor, I can bet that's something that's attracted to you if you can automate that. So agency owners go to these guys when they're struggling to set up effective social selling systems using their DMs and they want to automate and one click and power. And there's a recent statistic that I've heard, and I'm not sure the numbers on it, but the number of people using DMs in social media is outweighing people using text message and email by far. So it is the place to be. And he's built 8 companies. So he's got boots on the ground, that's for sure. He's got a run record. His first 2 companies did multiple 6 figures, which is amazing because most people just strive for one of those. His next 4 companies hit multiple 7 figures. His last 2 hit over 10 million a year in sales. Incredible, really, really experienced dude here. I'm really looking forward to how he answers the questions. Flowchat will be the first one that does 100 million a year, and I believe it. Just speaking to him beforehand and previously, he's a man on a mission, and he really cares about his audience, which is something that I find super valuable and the future. So 30 years working in master communications through the vocation of the lost art of prospecting for high ticket sales, and there's a bit of a thing going on if you're a coach or a mentor at the moment. You've all would have received a pitch from somebody pitching you high ticket sales the way they do it, and it all sounds terrible. And I read them and I'm like, there's nobody buying this stuff. How are these people making money? But I think they're catching the occasional person and getting 10K out of them and then moving on. But this is different. So he's personally closed $130 million in sales in his own career. More importantly, a loving husband, a loving cat dad, loves playing disc golf. And if you've ever heard of K-pop, Sean's brought back J-pop because he's huge in Japan back in the 2010s with the music album. And I'm sure he'll touch on that as we move through. So he's absolutely driven to help others master the communication in business, which is epic, man. I'd love to hear if you've got anything else that I missed in that you'd like to say to the listeners.
No, man, like I would just say that I'm really passionate, like you. I mean, you're one of those super researcher folks. I super research certain topics, and so what I'll say is that I spend an awful lot of time staying kind of on the bleeding edge of artificial intelligence and that kind of stuff too. So listen to just as many interviews as I can about that from all the super figureheads that are building that stuff. So I geek out pretty deep into the AI, and in Flowchat as well is really, it's got AI all over it, which is awesome, and it's only going to get better, right? So it's like you might as well embrace it.
100%. It's like one of those things that, yeah, I can feel entrepreneurs in 5 years' time going, I missed out when it was the start and I should have been there
Yeah.
teaching it and learning it. It's like it is a new wave. And I spoke about this on previous things, but people are treating AI and the way it works the same way as they treated email and the internet. And it's actually something completely different what it's building. Like it's the next stage. So super exciting. Um, Everybody starts somewhere. Like
Mm.
you've got to normally birth, maybe before, depending on your belief system. But I'm super curious because an entrepreneurial journey is something that, once you get successful, you take it for granted. It's easy, but at the start, it's not so easy. So, what is it that made you start your journey into entrepreneurship?
Great question. So, and I agree with you. I think once you get into the entrepreneur journey and you start doing well, it's easy, and then you crash, and then it's not so easy, right? So it's like I think the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, I think that's a part of it. But I mean, it's a journey and it's something to be enjoyed. And so my career really started. Um, pretty young. I started learning business from my dad when I was like 12, 13. He had a little import export business where he did cookware. And so he would ship cookware all over the world. And I was pushing a broom in his shop. And so I kind of started learning from him, and I learned hard work. Work ethic is a thing, right? So I watched him work 100+ hours a week, and I was like, okay, I guess that's what's normal. Come to find out, it's not really normal. But so then I went through college, and then after college, I kind of had one question on my mind, and that question was like, how do I make a boatload of cash? I just want to make a bunch of money, like that's it. And so I went to the only person that had any experience in business that I knew of, which was my dad. And I said, yo, how do I make a boatload of money? And he said, guess what? You got 3 choices. And I was so excited because I was like, I aced school. It was like multiple choice questions. He goes, number 1, are you a CEO? And I'm 21 years old. And I'm like, I have no idea what those letters even mean. So that's definitely not me, like, not it. Number 2, are you an entertainer? I can't sing or dance until the early 2010s. So I was like, no, I'm not an entertainer. And then finally he said, hey, well, you better go learn sales. I said, great. So I went off and I interviewed for about 5, 6 positions, and I found a sales gig, and I was selling commodities. And I walked in first day, and my boss, Tim, says, here's this book. And I'm like, okay, what's this book? It's all these people that you got to call and book appointments with. It's a manufacturer's directory guide. So I started before the internet, before anything else. I started with cold calls. Like that's where I cut my teeth in sales. And I started making calls. First day I made 20, no results. Second day I made 40, no results. Then I made 60, no results. And I went into Tim's office and was like, this sucks. Like I'm not making any appointments. He's like, just make 80 calls a day. You'll be fine. Okay. So I came back the next day, not thinking too much, and made 80 calls and didn't book an appointment. This process went on and on and on and on. Tyler, I went for 6 weeks straight, 80 calls a day, 2,400 attempts to book a call, right? I had a lot of people answer the phone. How many appointments do you think I actually booked? Guess.
Well, statistically speaking, you should have booked 3 for every 100, but that depends on whether you can close the sale or not.
I booked 0 appointments, dude. Yeah. And I was like, this is awful. Sales, what are we talking about? Like, I don't throw the hat in. And so I almost threw the white flag in, and my dad said, no, don't do that yet. Go to the library and read a book. Okay. So I go to the library and I pick up a Tom Hopkins How to Master the Art of Selling book. And I was like, oh my God, there's formulas. I didn't even realize this. And so that was like the aha moment. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try this. And of course, I learned one of the formulas. I come back, try to deploy it. The moment I'm supposed to say the little line that I had memorized and said 1,000 times, I couldn't say it. Like I froze, and the hair stand on my neck, and the sweat beads come down. And the next thing you know, I'm just like, and I stumbled something out. And the guy on the other end was cool enough to say, no, Sean, I know what you're doing. Come on over Tuesday at 9 a.m. And then I was like, I did it. I booked an appointment. And that moment changed my whole like life, right? Because I was so excited on the phone, and I was like trying to get off. I was like try to keep my voice and my excitement down. I was like, cool, I'll see you Tuesday, like hang up the phone. I started jumping around my office, and Tim, my boss, runs in and he goes, what'd you do? Did you just close the deal? And I was like, no, I just booked an appointment. And he's like, oh, get out of here, right? And he like walks off. But that moment was so valuable and special to me because I realized that if I did it once, I can do it again. And if I can do it again, I can do it 10 times. If I do it 10 times, I can probably do it 1,000 times, right? And so I became obsessed. I became obsessed with, I wanted to master communication through the vocation of the lost art of prospecting and high ticket sales. Like that day is when I decided that, right? So very decisive in that moment. And then that led me down the deepest, darkest, happiest rabbit hole of my life. I just started geeking out, and I learned all these different prospecting systems. I started setting crazy amounts of appointments. Then I got in these appointments, and guess what? I couldn't sell because I didn't know how to sell. And so I was like, dang it. And then I thought to myself, maybe, just maybe there's a formula for that too. And sure enough, I was like, oh, there's lots of them. And so I ended up spending about $500,000 over the course of, 5, 8 years to learn 40, 50 different the best selling systems. You've all read the books, like from spin selling to challenger selling to Sandler to Tom Hopkins, whatever. Like I've studied all of them. I've studied, modalities, personality, like all of it. And then I started using a formula to close deals. I used the one formula to book calls, and then another one to close deals, and then book call, close deal, book call, close deal. And that led me to massive success, right? Because I started selling commodities. That led me into a lot of commission dollars as a really young kid and made all the money I wanted. I ended up buying an electronics manufacturing company here in Las Vegas where I live now. And then I started, it was me and a partner and 7 people. And I grew that one from 250K a year is what it started at to 8.5 million in like 3.5 years. And then my business partner sold it out from underneath me. Another whole story for another day. We won't go down that rabbit hole. And put me in a dark spot. It's kind of when I met my wife. And my wife was like, and I was drinking, I was drinking a lot because it was like really depressing. I lost over 7 figures. And she said, no, don't drink. Let's go do something with your life. Right. Come to find out, I was like, which I do. She goes, sell. Sure, I could do that. So I took a job selling for a roofing company and I broke every one of their records. I was like, okay, well, this is rinse and repeat. It worked. Right. And then I realized roofers with respect are not my people. So I ended up backing out of that niche, that job. And I was like, how can we do this? Because I want to spend all my time with her because she's great. And it's like, how can we do this online? And that was about 8 years ago. I can keep going. I mean, like my story is pretty deep from this point now. So like, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, keep going for sure. That's
Okay, cool. Yeah. So at about, like 8 years ago, we came online and all I knew myself was like, hey, I could sell. So and I had seen this little guy walking across the beach on a Facebook ad, like way back in the day. And he's like, I just made all this money online. And I was like, look, that's what I wanted to do the whole time, my whole life. Like if I can do it online and create the freedom and the lifestyle where I can spend the time with my wife, I'm a happy guy. So what I did is I went down the rabbit hole. I watched this ad. I clicked the link, went to a landing page, put my name in there, didn't know what I was doing at the time, like going through a funnel. And I ended up getting on a call and I bought this $99 a month program and it led me to a $10,500 sale. I was like, oh man, like 10,500, that's crazy. It's like a big upsell process. But I was like, yo, I don't know this marketing game, but if this little system can bring eyeballs my way, like I can convert them and then I can build a sales team. And that's what happened. It was a network marketing company out of Japan. We sold these water systems and we learned paid ads to cold traffic on Facebook, which is like according to Russell Brunson, he said that's the last thing you should ever do. Anyway, I learned it. We got pretty effective at it. Traffic started coming our way. They would buy the 99 thing and I would get on the call and I'd close a $10,500 deal. I did this over and over and over. And I was like, oh my God, like I could build a team to do this. I built a team of 35 people to do this. And then we scaled, and then we went, let's go crazy. And we went heavy and that's when I met Russell Brunson for the first time myself. And I owe a lot of, like my marketing prowess to him because I started geeking out on his stuff. And he taught me funnels and marketing and some other things. Cause I thought marketing and sales were like, not the same thing. I mean, like they're definitely not the same thing. They're kissing cousins is what I'd call them. But I didn't know marketing. I'm a sales brain guy. So long story short, we grew this business pretty tremendously. We had thousands and thousands of people that had paid us over $10,500. And they said, your software sucks. I was like, okay, that sucks. Right. And we'd actually gotten that award for the software company we ended up building. But the idea was your software sucks. So we're like, great, we don't know software. We went down the rabbit hole. We found some people that built software. We built a software company. And then I was running software and I was still running this network marketing business. And Sean burns out like to the max, dude. To the point where I was driving to a inner circle event with Russell and I saw a tree and I almost drove off the road into the tree to kill myself. Like that's the level that I was at.
Yeah.
Stopped the car, crying. My wife is with me. She's like, what's up? I was like, almost just killed myself. And she's like, what? And so we have this conversation and we go to this presentation and I'm in this room with these mega amazing marketer people doing way more money in revenue than no way more than me. I get on stage and I start sharing this journey and everyone's like cheering. We do a launch and made like $250,000 and then we failed at this. And then it was like up and down and like cry, laugh, cheer. And then at the end, Russell gets up and says, yo, you need to kill your baby, end your software company, sell it. I was like, what? Why? He goes, because it's killing your soul. Oh, well, that was new to me. So didn't know how to do that. Right. Took a year, sold the software company. That's what we got that award for. And then after that, we're like, what do we do? And our other coach, Alex Sharfin, says, what are you good at? Well, pretty good at sales. And he says, all these online coaches, all these online entrepreneurs, they're not really that great at sales. should probably go ask if they need some help. I was like, great, we could do that. So I called like 40 or 50 of them with my business partner now, Chris. We were partners through some of this stuff, and talked to like 40 people. At the end, 5 of them say, yo, man, we're not getting off the phone with you till we do a deal. And that was the birth of our high ticket agency, right? So we picked up 5 clients, and what we did for them was we helped them hire, onboard, and train sales teams. Some of them were coaches, some of them were agency owners, right? Hire, onboard, and train sales teams. We put it in their business, and next thing you know, we taught them how to go through the warm market of the entrepreneurs list, closed a bunch of deals, boosted the cash for like 6 months. Then these entrepreneurs and these agency owners and coaches come back and they say, Sean and Chris, thank you so much for building a sales team that I love. And I don't have to sell anymore because that was I didn't want to do it. But now I can't sleep at night because I don't have a consistent way to put people in front of the sales team that you just built me. Okay, here's a system, piece of paper and a spreadsheet. Let's do it, right? And we put it in their business. We've been using this system for years. I've been using that system for longer than years, decades. And every one of their businesses hit home runs. To this day, they're still banging it out of the park. Chris and I look at each other and said, wow, we should probably sell that system in a mastermind because that's way more valuable than just being able to help 5 or 6 companies at a time. We could probably help 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, 100, whatever time. So we launched a mastermind, $25,000 mastermind based on a market need. That 3 months is the intensive for learn this system, and then 9 months of advanced sales coaching to close all the deals that the system brings to you. Great thing. We had dozens and dozens of businesses that ripped through this thing. 83% of them, big number, hit home runs every time. I came from the network marketing model where 1 to 5% of people get results. And that was the thing that really caused me to like burn out because I wanted more people to get results. So anyway, masterclass works really well. Same thing happens about a year and a half into this, 2 years into this, after we'd done dozens and dozens of businesses through this thing. Somebody says, you guys need a software. I'm like, dang it, why we can't get away from the software idea? And so at the time, our messaging ran into our CTO's messaging. So we get on the phone with him and we're like, what do you do? He goes, I built this really kick-ass tech, but I have no clients. What do you do? We do a lot of this and we have hundreds of clients, but we have no tech. We could just dump all of our clients into your tech and it'd be magic. And then he goes, yeah. And so we ended up merging, acquired all of the IP, put it together, redressed the thing, launched the software, and that has been explosive ever since. That was the birth of FlowChat. It happened about 3 years ago. We did over 7 figures in our first year, and just now multiple 7 figures, and just on like flying. So really excited about it, and that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Sean, because I think it's really important to hear the journey. And I just want to share a few key takeaways that I took from your story. And the first one, most important thing I think any entrepreneur, even employee needs, but the people that you had around you, super supportive. That's what I talk about it. The emotional side of that was your wife was like, hey, just don't be sad, just do what you're good at. You have one bad interaction with a business partner, which it can cause a massive effect on somebody's psyche. And I'd love to hear your opinion or your current psychological standpoint on the environment, how you choose a business partner now that you've been through an experience of somebody coming in underneath, and what that was like for you. But more importantly, it sounds like now you choose people that are conducive to your growth, values, morals, virtues, and where you're heading, and how you do that.
Well, dude, that is one of the most fantastic questions I've ever been asked. So thank you for asking it. And like you said, I believe that coaching is, if not the most important, top 3 of the most important things you can do, especially if you're starting to build a digital marketing business or even just building a business as a whole, because you can collapse time frames simply by asking somebody who's already been there how to click the buttons you need to click. And that's the big secret that everybody misses. They're like, why do I have to pay $5,000 a month for coaching or 10 grand a month for coaching? It's because that dude just did $100 million in the exact field that you're trying to do. All you got to do is just go ask him how to click the buttons and then go make your own money. is like the result, right? And then so coaching, I think, is absolutely critical. Having the team around you is 100%. That's the stuff that will stop you from quitting. That's the stuff that will stop you from hurting yourself. That's the stuff that will allow you to have the space to recover so that you can keep going. Because at the beginning of this, I said it's ebbs and flows, right? You're always going to be either high or low. Very rarely do you hang in the middle. And if you're in the middle, you're stagnant and you're probably dead anyway. So don't do that, right? So that you should be winning. And so every big breaking moment or key or thing I can think of in my entire career came from, oh, we just invested into this $30,000 mastermind. Oh, we just bought this $65,000 coach for a year. Oh, we just bought, like, and so yes, seminars, books, coaches, masterminds, the networks that you build have become so powerful. I mean, remember when we were in the inner circle and we started talking about the sales thing, a lot of the people from the inner circle were like, I need your guys' service. I was like, you guys are like the best entrepreneurs on the planet. Like, what are you talking about? But it ended up being our dream clients and we got to work with them. So really, really cool there. So the support around you is absolutely critical, right? If you don't put it around you, because you're responsible, if you're listening to this, if you don't put the support around you, then it's lonely. And loneliness leads to darkness, and darkness leads to failure. So
Yeah, the last mastermind we just wrapped up, the guys who got the most success out of that. I just did a testimonial with them. You can check it out. It's Amy and Michael. We'll post it in a couple of days. But they said the unsung hero of the entire container was the group chat and people celebrating their wins, but then seeing somebody else get a success and being like oh, mine's next. They could see it's possible and what they're working on is happening. It's like, oh, it's happened now it's my turn. And they said that that was the unsung hero of the container. So thanks for sharing that. Just before we move on, I want to go a little bit more technical about because you shared a bit about what you offer, but like your current company right now and what you deliver and
sure.
how it's delivered. But just have one final thing, which I think is super valuable because everybody talks about what to get. How do you know who not to work with, whether it's a coach, a business partner, or a friend?
Yeah, and that's sorry, I forgot to answer that part of your question. I over the years, I've kind of built a little bit of a checklist. And first of all, track record becomes pretty important. Okay. So that's the first thing. They have to have a track record that shows perseverance, persistence, consistency, and conviction, specifically, right? Results should come as a result of those other things. So, how do you figure that out? You speak with the people that actually were partners or worked with that person in the past. That's really, really valuable. So, creating questions around that, that's interesting. The next thing is I would share is personality profiles become really valuable, right?
Mm,
Because I know that there's certain personality profiles. As a student of always mastering communication, I would say very effective at speaking at pretty much any personality type, but there are certain ones that drain my energy faster than other ones. And so I'm never looking for sideways or drain of energy. I'm always looking for cohesion and growth. So having your business partner or potential person you're going to hire, coach, whatever, see if you can get, personality profile, Enneagram, disc profile, like Myers-Briggs, colors, whatever it is, and see and make sure that that's somebody that's kind of like you because they can speak in your filter and they won't drain your energy on processing. So I think that's definitely another big piece of it. And then I would say also I always look for hunger and growth.
mm,
So if somebody's hungry and really wants to grow and do so, hunger and growth are two different things. Hunger to go conquer a goal, right? So that's one thing. Growth personally, what are you doing to self-improve? Are you taking care of your health? Are you taking care of your relationships, your family, fitness, your finances, your faith, whatever, so like just somebody that's kind of righteously there. And like when and don't settle. I would say that's the other big thing is I can like close one eye and then go forward. I would say when you're getting started with a partner or coach or something like that, like keep both eyes wide open. When you get into the relationship, close one of the eyes.
mm. Yeah, thank you. the both eyes opens thing. I think it's quite easy to pedestal a business partner and a coach at the same time, because when I hire a coach, one of my first things was, and I think I learnt this from my dad, so I got a bit of an easy break because it was a childhood program, but it's like never look up to anyone. If somebody's teaching you something, if they don't want you to be as good as them or better, then they're not in it for the right reasons.
Mm.
They're like trying to hold you down based on, hey, keep me here. I want to be here. So I always we hired a coach this year, which we're really excited about.
Yeah.
And I see him as a business partner. I'm like, that's
Mm.
my business partner. And they're like, no, it's your coach. Like, he's got these skills. And I'm like, but if I put somebody in a pedestaled position, I know I can't learn from them. And I'm always
Mm.
going to see that there's something that they have that I'm not going to be able to achieve. And I don't settle on mentors as well. I've invested money in the past, ignored that, been like, oh, they've got everything I need. But then when I got into the trainings, I was like, oh, they don't want me to be as successful as them. They want to teach me
Mm.
this skill and that's it. So that was a big key point for me. Yeah, really
I
appreciate.
like that. I think that's really valuable. I mean, we also just hired a coach recently. I call him, I don't really, it's SaaS Academy, Dan Martell, if you know the name. He's built 9 different SaaS businesses. His first one, he exited for like 150 million. And
Wow.
that's that results and track record that I was talking about. Like the dude's been through every ringer I could ever possibly imagine. He's been at Richard Branson's house from Virgin. He know, like he's studied and geeked out about billionaires and what they do for success. And so he has the right ethos, the right values, the right kind of flow. And so for us, it's really valuable because there's a lot of fundamental things when you're building a software company that you might not be aware of, like those. And the same thing when you're building a coaching business. I know they should come to Erickson Coaching, because if you're listening to this and you haven't gotten involved with Tyler, do so right now, because I can tell you that Tyler knows a lot of the potholes that you might be falling into before you even fall into them. He can see the indicators before you even realize that that's an indicator. And so he'll be able to guide you along the path, right? And I always believe a great coach is a transformational coach, not telling you what to do, but rather telling you, here's the outcome you need to get and go figure it out, because that's when you actually truly learn something. And I know Tyler systems teach that exact process. So again, if you're entertaining it, press the button, get started.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate that, man. Okay. I want to hear, like we spoke on flowchart.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like we need to go a little bit deeper. Like I want to hear like,
Yeah. So Flowchat was actually, again, kind of built out of a market need, right? Because as I shared my story, what Flowchat does, I'll just share that, is uh, it, it allows anybody that is usually digital agencies or coaching agencies, coaching programs. It allows you to automate the social selling process through the DMs, right? And so when we built the tech, what it was originally designed for was just really kind of 3 things that were very valuable for the business. Number one, we looked at this market and we saw that there was individual tools that would work on one singular platform. Like this one works on LinkedIn, this one works on Facebook, this one's on Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. And we're like, why is there not just one that works everywhere? And technically, there's some like red tape and stuff that you got to kind of go through to figure that out. And there is actual reasons. And it's like, that's what it comes down to. But we said, no. We need to have one tool that you can go to basically any platform. We have 13 that we serve. And you need to be able to harvest or collect all of the attention from social media. So what we were thinking as a like very big picture is, let's turn social media platforms into the lead bucket.
mm-hmm.
And then we allow our tool to go into that lead bucket and find the niche, click a button and pull that group or that niche right out of that bucket and put it into an organized plan, so that now you could set up a selling process. Now, remember, so the first thing that we'd said, Flowchat's all about, the ethos of Flowchat is being able, number one, is to be able to import from anywhere on any social at any time. Example, if you have a Facebook group that's complementary to what you serve, right? If you're a coaching tennis, as an example, right? And maybe all the people that are in other like rackets, like they have tennis racket groups or whatever. You can go in a tennis racket group and click a button, and you can collect all the people that are in the tennis racket group to talk about tennis coaching lessons or something like that, right? So that was the idea. So you can import from groups. You can import from people's posts. So if there's an influencer in your space, right, you can go to his post or her post, and all the people that have liked or commented, in one click, you can just collect all of that data, put it right into your account. Okay, so we can collect for followers lists, following lists, groups, events, like all of it, right? And so import's the number one thing. Number two is I'm a sales brain guy, not a marketing guy. I came from the sales side of the tracks. Most people in the digital marketing space are in the marketing space. And so when I looked at these other tools, what we realized, our team, not just me, of course, behind every good person's a great team, is I saw that none of these softwares had an actual selling system designed and set up. So we built the very first pipeline view, right? If you've been to like a Trello board or one of these other texts, is like you can, all these CRMs have them now, but we built the very first one for direct messaging and an entire pipeline view. So you can set up basically your entire sales conversation. If we think of each stage in that board is like a step in your sales journey. What do you say at this stage? How do you move them forward to the next step? Like if you're trying to book a call, there's 4 hinge points. You got to get engagement. Number 1, did you get it? Yes. Did you transition from engagement to being able to do an invite? Yes. Did you do an invite? Yes. Did you do a CTA? Yes. Okay, cool. Booked call. And so we really look at the framework. And so the second thing is we put this pipeline in because we understand that 60% of engagement on social happens at the 4th touch point. 80% of sales deals occur at the 13th touch point or beyond. Every one of the texts that we looked at did not have 13 touch points in a system. And so we said, okay, well, that's the second major thing that FlowChat has is import. And then at least you can build your pipelines as big as you want. One of our highest producing ones that's done multiple millions in just this last year for us has 24 touch points in it. So like initial action, maybe like follow up, that'd be touch points kind of thing. Then another action, follow up kind of thing. So you can see how that works, but we've been tuning it. It's a constant improvement process. And then the third bucket is reporting, because when you're doing an organic play, right? Because a lot of people use FlowChat and never paid. We've never paid $1 in paid ads for this business because it sells itself. Like we use the tech to sell the tech. And then we teach people to use the tech to sell pretty much anything else that's in the digital space. And the idea is that reporting becomes a nightmare. So if you've ever done the organic thing, if you're a coach listening to this and you're like and you're high ticket and you're like messaging 5 people and you're like, okay, I'm going to put them on a spreadsheet. Great. That's how we started. Do that because it works. Right. I could show you our spreadsheet and you would be like, oh, this hurts my brain to even look at it because it was just way too much. But then what happens is like when you go to reporting, how many calls did you get? How many like how many people are along in this process? How is it like reporting becomes a nightmare. And so we said, look, we're going to have a very clean and simple system to report everything. And so it's one of the only ones still to this day that I believe that has an organic outreach method that you can have reporting at a click of a button, and you can troubleshoot where it's working and where it's not. So you can actually optimize your outbound outreach flow or your inbound flow or whatever it is, because you can just look at the data. So those are the 3 kind of core elements of FlowChat. And then beyond that, it's AI, automation, like everything else you could think of. Yeah.
All the fancy stuff. I'm going to touch on that a little bit because one thing that I stress, like this is it stresses me when people don't do it. So I stress it to people. It's like every single business needs to be 2 things first. You need to be a marketing business and a sales business, and then your product. It doesn't fucking matter what the product is. The product's there. Just pick something that people want. A marketing business and a sales business. And my beautiful wife always talks about this. It's like most people are good at one of these and they have a leads problem or a sales problem and they think they have a product problem, but that's not true. And another thing that we often talk about, which is I want to weave into why FlowChat, you should check it out. And there are other ones, so check them all out. But I think you should check FlowChat out for a specific reason. Is the psychology behind marketing and sales is never going to change. Like it's been the same for thousands of years. It's the same. And when you have somebody who's built a system that's been in sales cold calling, you have somebody who's built a system that has learnt to market the hard way and made all the failures, run businesses and been through that, through that system is going to be weaved through all the psychology you need behind it. So the touch points, and it's interesting that the 24 touch points, because it was, the psychology was for a while, it was like 4 to 7, right? And then they realized, hey, it's actually always been 21, but we didn't know that people were just glimpsing things out the side of their eye, like a like on a post, or all the little nuances behind it. So I think it's super cool. I can hear it, like my marketing brain and my sales brain are going, I can see why you did that. I can see why that's important. I can see why that's important. If you're not a master in seeing the psychology behind marketing and sales, then you don't have to be. That's what tech's for. That's the whole point. Do highly recommend you learn it later. But if you need to get your business started right now, leverage is one of the most important things an entrepreneur or a business owner can do. So leverage it first and then learn. I have one last
100%.
question,
Yeah, sure.
and then we're going to finish up. Now, I'm going to give you two. If you could give one piece of advice to that one person that's listening that needs it right now, what would that be?
So first thing I would say is you should be proud of yourself for taking the time to make the decision to step out of working for another human being and building your own thing. So be proud of yourself that you're doing that, because that in itself is hard, right? But once you've made that first initial step, all you got to remember is that there's somebody out there that's already taken the next step and the next step, and that's fallen in a pothole that you don't need to fall into. And so what you need to do, and kind of like how I started learning in my journey, was at first I would hire a coach that was specific, or that was a generalist that could just teach me enough about enough. And then I started realizing, like, no, I need to find a marketing coach. I need to find an operational coach. We found a mastermind coach to teach us how to build a mastermind specifically. Like, and these people exist. And so I would say that if you're at that place where you can't maybe even invest into a coach, go find somebody that you resonate with and absorb all of their free content, because everybody's been brainwashed these days into dropping all of their value in the free content. And there's so much good free content that's out there. And I think what's really important to remember is that even though the free content is great and good and grand, there's still something to be said for the pothole side of the equation that nobody talks about. So, like, the reasons that I hire a coach is so that I don't make mistakes. It's not because I need to learn, it's because I don't want to make the mistakes that they made. And that becomes way more valuable to me than anything else. And just know that, be proud of yourself, look for the right person that can guide you down the path, and you can succeed and pass them, right? Like you said, I think that's really valuable. And then, of course, like, just don't stop learning. Just keep going, because you can do it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And the last thing, if anybody wants to check out Flowchat or you, where do they
Sure.
go?
Yeah, just flowchat.com, flowchat.com. On there, you can catch a couple of videos. There's a couple of video demos, pretty kick-ass website. And we hired the guy that did the branding for BMW, actually did the branding for us, which I was grateful for that. But yeah, it was expensive. But and then yeah, if you want to just jump onto Facebook and hit me up in direct messages, just look for Sean Malone, SeanMalone. And I've got purple and blue are some of our colors. Like, we got the royal and safe colors. So just look for my picture with like purple behind my head. You'll see it. I might have a beard or whatever, a big beard, but yeah. So
The beard
yeah, just hit me up in the DMs. Yeah.
beards
So,
from the K-pop days. Um, I'll add the links in the chat, guys, so you can find them.
thanks.
Definitely check it out. Thanks for jumping on, Sean, and I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
the next time we get to have a chat like this.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Tyler. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you.